So we're about to go through the cable torso rotation. However, before we go into that, it's going to be important for us to test the client's active range, or if you're the client yourself, you need to learn how to test it yourself. So what we're going to do is pop yourself on a bench, and then I'm going to ask Luke to think about sitting nice and tall. We would have already tested his active range of spinal flexion and spinal extension. So what I'm going to do is just get him in kind of a mid-range between that, so that we're in a nice comfortable position to then go into rotation. Another massive point that we need to consider is that the hips need to be a solid anchor, and the only thing that needs to be moving or rotating is the spine itself. So what you can do is take a look at the knees, and if there's any kind of forward or back shift of the knees, we can then see that as a rotation in the hips. So I'm just gonna cue, so if Luke goes round to the left now, but actually doesn't keep his hips stable, you can see those knees shifting across, you can see them moving about, and that means there has been a rotation from the hips. So all I'm gonna cue him to do is lock the hips completely in place. When we have the bench set up, we can also think about adducting into the bench as hard as we can, because obviously we know that all of the structures around the hip are going to need to stay solid and need to keep that stable. And then I'm going to ask him to almost imagine that there's a pole going straight through his spine. That pole is going to stay rigid and it's just going to rotate. And I'm just going to ask him to rotate to the left first. I'm going to ask him to stop when he feels like he can't go any further. And we're just going to take a note of that position. And then I'm going to ask him to go around to the right. And take a note of that position as well. And if you've done RTS as a coach, what you can do is apply CSI here in terms of doing some isometrics to see if that range can increase. However, if you're not comfortable with doing that, all we're going to do is just make sure that we are staying within this active range of motion as we go into the exercise.